Today we're diving into how IEC 61850 really works in modern substations and where it's heading in terms of virtualization.
This is Powering the Future, a podcast series brought to you by Smart Grid Forums. One planet, one power grid.
Joining us is Bas Mulder, consultant for digital substations at DNV, to break down how utilities can build faster, safer, future-proof substation networks. Hi, Bas. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Mandana, for the invite. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. So, Bas, we've known each other for a long, long time, and I know that 61850 is not just a protocol for you. As you say, it's a way of life. So I'm really pleased to have you on the podcast today to deep dive into where it's heading and how we can drive its adoption a bit faster. Before we get into that, though, would you like to explain to our viewers about your own roles and responsibilities at DMV and how you're working with 61850?
Thank you for picking up that tagline. 20 years ago, I started in what was at that time KEMA, which is now DMV. And I started in the area of tool development for doing conformance testing. That was a new business at that time. The conformance testing of 6150 had just been released, the part 10 of the standard. And we started working there in setting up and developing all these test procedures. So from there, my interest in 6150 only has grown, and moving into advisory, implementations, specifications, training, everything basically all related to digital substations with 6150, and also a lot of cybersecurity elements have been added to that in the last years. So working as a consultant, very broad area on basically digital substations, data communication, cybersecurity.
Great. Okay. And so you as a consultant, you have a really good overview of the market and where the standard's heading, but you've also been in the front line within the utility, haven't you? Tell us a little bit about that and the work that you did within the utility environment, because you have a good understanding of the operations side.
Exactly. So a couple of years inside the utility world, also have been working on setting up new specifications, new ways of working in implementing digital substations, and basically facilitating the transfer of a traditional substation to a digital substation. Mm-hmm. So this happened on different voltage level between 110 and 380 kV substations, so bigger and smaller size of substations. Mm-hmm. Implementing the not just 6150 as a communication, but also as a complete engineering standard, and helping not only from a technical perspective, but also the business side and the way of working on how to engineer and develop new digital substations based upon 61850. Right. And from that, we often have learned that the standard and the technology is not the problem, but it's the things around it, the people, the processes. There's where the challenges are.
Right. Yes, and we'll get into that in a while. But first, in terms of 61850 and where it's at, for those who don't know the standard too well, how has it evolved and what are the big opportunities ahead of it? Where can it be applied and how can it be developed to really make a difference in the market?
Yeah, so as I said, 2003, 2005, that was the launch of the first edition. And scope there was really inside the substation, really an automation system for protection and control. And later on, with the launch of Edition 2 or Edition 2.1, as we currently have it, that moved more outside of the substation into other domains like renewable generation, storage, battery storage, electric vehicles. So there you see that 6150 really grew outside of the substation to cover the entire power utility domain. Becoming a de facto standard for terms of communication, data modeling, engineering, and growing, basically quite big in covering everything that is in the digital substation domain. Mm-hmm. And even so much that IEC also considered as the de facto standard for the replacement of all these old legacy protocols that we could find inside a substation.
Okay. So what's the future? Where is it heading? Where are the new applications and opportunities, and perhaps some of the risks that we need to think about?
So where it should go is now in the direction of the control center. That is some activity that has started several years ago, but it's a very slow process. Also, there's a little bit chicken egg story. What to build first, the substation with 6150 or the SCADA system with 6150. And then vendors and end users, they keep on looking at each other, and sometimes, they don't move enough.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
so I think that is the next step in order to integrate 6150 with SIM with other control center applications. You have so much data available inside a digital substation running with 6150. Now we will lose this data because we're going outside with another protocol like 101 and 104, where we lose a lot of this data semantics and other kind of useful things. So when they have directly 6150 to the control center, we can use everything that we have inside the substation also for control center applications for SCADA and operate the grid much more effectively than we are currently doing.
Right. Okay. Well, that sounds like a great opportunity. I must say, in the last 6 months or so, I've been getting feedback from many utilities that they're finding it hard to drive adoption beyond their group of 61850 experts and amongst the wider workforce in order to really drive the larger scale implementation of 61850. What do you think can be done to help utilities with perhaps some simplification of the standard so that wider adoption becomes more possible?
Yeah. Yes, the standard is big and it's in certain aspects even complex. But having good tools and having easy to understand procedures and workflows in order to do the engineering and to do the communication configuration, that will really help the utilities. Parallel is a little bit the smartphone. Prior to the iPhone, we had already different types of smartphones, but you needed to have a certain skill level or interest in technology in order to operate them. And by having iPhones with a simplified user interface, the App Store, everything already predefined for you, that made really wide adoption possible. Going back to 6150, having good tools that helps you as an end user or as an engineer in the configuration of it, that will also speed up, I think, the wider adoption inside the utilities.
More standardization of the user interface as well. What does this mean for suppliers, though, who have invested in 61850 and want to keep some level of differentiation for commercial purposes? What does this mean for them? And is there a way to find a happy medium?
Yeah, I think so. Of course, there are always vendor specifics that certain utilities like, or legacy things that need to be taken into account. So those vendor customizations could still be there, but hide it more from the end user in that sense by having good engineering tools and helping maybe with wizard kind of style question answer dialogues. To help an end user in the configuration of the device and in the end the entire system. And furthermore, also the utilities have a responsibility here because they need to specify really what they want. If you put in a specification just it has to support 6150, you will get everything and nothing that is 6150 compliant. But that doesn't mean that it can work together inside your system as an end user or as a utility.
Yeah.
So you really need to have a good specification, write down what you really want, what you want to use, and how the thing should work for you. And only then you can select the right equipment for that specific purpose. And not looking at anymore at logos and specific brands that you always have used, but then also open up for other players in the market. If you have a good specification, you should be able to integrate everything because that's the whole purpose of 6150, to be vendor independent and interoperable.
Absolutely. In terms of the tools that you mentioned, the configuration tools being more simplified so that the user doesn't have to deal with the complexity so much, are there any tools in the market that you recommend?
It's always hard to recommend specific tools. I might heard other people saying, hey, I also have a good tool, so that's difficult. But what we see, of course, is a lot of the big players, the already established brands, they put in their tools and trying to make it compatible with other vendors. Independent tools like Hey-Links, for example, Calcitech SCL Manager, those kind of tools, they are also making big steps lately in order to become more interoperable, more vendor independent, and to really help the utility to progress fast in the deployment of 61850. But as I said, there are so many tools. The choice is there, and I think these vendors all together have the responsibility to make it easier for end users and to implement 61850 in a more friendlier way.
Okay, so Bas, my final question for you is, if you're sat face to face with a new member of a utility workforce who has been tasked with working with 61850 and they're feeling a little bit confused by the whole thing and unsure that they can really adopt it, what would be your advice? How can they get started? How can they build their expertise in this area? And what should be motivating them?
Yeah, now, of course, first it helps if they know really what they want to build and what to achieve with a digital substation. So from there, start smaller, think in building blocks and specify in that sense really what you want and to select the right parts of the standard and the right equipment after that. And just start building, first maybe with a lab and then maybe a pilot substation, but then learn from it and be not afraid of making mistakes there. Just start doing it. And the standard is 30 years old. It is nothing new anymore in terms of communication or engineering. And there's a lot of training material available and is on the market. And consultants like us, we can also help in setting up good specifications and help you with the implementation.
Fantastic. And of course, DNV are going to be exhibiting at SGT26 in Paris in March, where you'll be displaying your full skill set and services for utilities and for suppliers in the 61850 space. So we look forward to seeing you there.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Bas. Great talking to you, and see you in March.
Thank you very much. Have a great day and see you in March too.
Join us again next time as we unpack another big topic shaping the future of the power grid. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Smart Grid Forums, and to follow us on LinkedIn. Until then, thanks for watching and listening.
This is Powering the Future, a podcast series brought to you by Smart Grid Forums. One planet, one power grid.